I hate this knife. No, wait, that's not how I'm going to do this video. Instead, I'm going to show you guys each of these what I believe to be overrated knives, and then I'm going to show you what I like about the knife. I'm going to show you what I think improvements could be made to each of these products, and then I'm going to show you suggested alternatives to each of these knives that I believe are much better value for your hard-earned money. I do a lot of knife reviews, a lot of list videos. This is the first time that I've headed straight into the knives that I don't think are good knives direction. Let me know your feedback in the comment section down below, and let me know which knives you believe are overrated. I'd love to hear your feedback. Let's begin, and hopefully I don't talk about any of the knives that you really like, and if I do, then please don't take it personally. This knife right here is from CRKT. This is known as the M-16-14ZSF, and why such a long name? Well, that's simply because this knife has so many different variants. You can buy this big or small, and different blade shapes and styles, serrations, non-serrated. And the reason for that is because this knife is extremely popular. So the thing that I like about this knife is that it looks really tactical. I think that really appeals to people. It's got these, what looks like milled out holes, so it's kind of similar to like an M16 or M15. So it has that look to it. It's even named after that. And I think just people are naturally, especially men, are drawn to that kind of a tactical look and feel. I'm in the military myself. I get it. And a lot of my coworkers buy this knife after my suggested, I think you should carry a pocket knife because you keep borrowing mine. They go and buy this knife, and I go, why? Why'd you do that? So, all right, guys. So here's what I don't like about this knife. I don't like the pocket clip on it. I think it does cause a hot spot. It's just kind of narrow, and it sticks out weird. And I don't like the fact that they didn't mill or drill these holes all the way through, because that would have saved a lot of weight, and that's kind of the look they're going for anyways. And there's no skeletonization in the middle, and it's not especially easy to clean and maintain. That's going to come into play, especially if you're using this knife as an outdoor knife, or if this knife is designed for people who are in the military or law enforcement or whatnot, or hunters. And then the other thing I don't like about this knife is this auto lock safety right here. So there's this tiny piece of metal that you have to disengage this before you disengage that. The liner lock in it. It's an extra step that is useless and frustrating. Anyways, that's why I really recommend, instead of buying this, I would buy this knife. So recently, this is kind of cheating for this knife, but this is the M16-04KS, and yes, there are different sizes for this knife as well, but everything I just complained about with this knife has been fixed in this one. It doesn't have that stupid safety. It's going to be able to close up easily. This is frame lock, so it's actually really strong design inherently. And another thing is that this knife uses a flathead instead of the same torque wrench that you need for something like that. So you can maintain this pretty easily in the field. Just a great knife. I highly recommend it. Honestly, I will actually recommend this knife to some people, especially if they're looking for a deployment knife and they're not willing to spend a lot of money. So for some people, they like I said, a knife that's going to be smaller, and it's going to fit in your pocket, and you're going to forget that it's there. And it's very small and compact. However, when you put this in your pocket, that is when the problems actually begin, because yes, you will forget that your knife is in there until you put your hand in your pocket to grab your keys or something, and it rubs up against either here or here or back here. This knife is just uncomfortable to carry, and if you put this on your belt, then, and that's what I started doing just to kind of keep my hands from getting rubbed raw, then this will rub up against your stomach. So it's just not a comfortable knife to carry. It's small and compact, it's inexpensive, but if you want those things, just go with the CRKT Squid. And if you guys watched my last video where I talked about the top 10 most underrated knives, then this knife is in there, and you guys have probably heard me talk about it. But it's also inexpensive, small, compact, and it's not going to rip up your hands, shred your skin, all that kind of stuff. It's very ergonomic, it's well built, it's well designed, and lots of advantages over the Boker Subcom Plus, in my opinion. Alright, now switching gears again to more tactical looking knives, or big knives anyway. So this is from, yep, you probably guessed it, Cold Steel. This is the Pocket Bushman, which is kind of a funny name to call this because this is a gigantic knife. So I wear medium to large size gloves, depending on the brand, and you can see how much, how big this knife is. So the things I like about this knife is I really like the blade. I think it's kind of a cool look to a knife, and I thought that I would really like this palm swell right here, so it can really kind of fill the hand. However, the ergonomics kind of suck on this knife, unfortunately. This is really thin, and whenever you bear down on it, then it's going to cut into your fingers, and it's just not comfortable overall. And then if you want to close this knife, it has a great lockup, but whenever you want to close it, first hold on, I have to be careful because I don't want my fingers to slip. It's very difficult to close, I guess is what I'm trying to communicate. So just kind of keep that in mind. You're going to have to drop whatever you have in your other hand to be able to close this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And also the pocket clip is kind of awkwardly placed, and it does cause a little bit of a hot spot. It's not too bad, but it does stick out of your pocket a lot, and it's just a weird, oddly designed knife that I'm not a big fan of. If you're going to buy a big knife and you don't want to spend a lot of money, then why not just get one of these? So this is from Spyderco's budget line known as the Bird. This is the rescue version, or the emergency knife version of the CRKT, which I'll show right here. And it's just a nice big knife it's lightweight, it's ergonomic, it's got all those benefits that the Pocket Bushman doesn't have, and it can still get the job done. It's inexpensive, it's a big knife. It's also ambidextrous, just like the Bushman is. So instead of buying this knife, kind of a heavy duty knife that you can't really bear down on anyways because it's going to hurt your hand, just go with this one. A lot of people like this knife, plus it has a bottle opener. So what do I like about this knife? I like that it has a bottle opener. This also has a flathead screwdriver where the lanyard hole is. That's pretty much it, and it's cheap. Alright, enough said. The one I'm going to show you is also inexpensive. So this one is very lightweight. It actually, I think, looks even cooler. This is from Leatherman. This is known as the Skeletal KB, and it's inexpensive, lightweight, all those kind of things. And guess what it has? A bottle opener. Just buy this one instead. Okay, let's move on to the next one. That one was easy. Hopefully nobody's favorite knife has appeared yet. Well, that might all about to change when I show you guys this knife. The reason I say that is because this knife from Gerber, the Gerber is one of the best-selling knife companies, knife brands, and this knife is their best-selling knife. So if you like this knife, it's not inherently bad. It's cheap, and it is very budget-friendly, and it's a great beater knife, probably. I don't like how the knife blade is still accessible even when it's closed, so I don't like that part of it. But overall, I don't think it's a terrible design. It's actually, because it's skeletonized, that thing that I've told you that this knife wasn't. So because it's skeletonized, it is actually much more lightweight because it has a stainless steel handle. I should be careful when I do that. But it is what it is. It's not super expensive. If you want to go into a Walmart, or if you're in the military, if you go to BX or PX, then this knife is going to be on the shelf for you guys. And if this gets beat up or whatever, who cares? But instead of buying this knife, which is, like I said, Gerber's best-selling knife, why not buy a knife that is one of the best-selling knives in online retailers, the CRKT Drifter. So it's also inexpensive, and I think this one is like, what, $9, and I think this one is close to that same price. And it still has a kind of a tactical-ish or cool guy look. I don't know. It has a painted blade or coated blade, and it has a G10 handle. So it's very strong material, and it's kind of easy to maintain. And this is going to be a great beater knife for you as well. And it's ergonomic. It's got jimping right here, so you get pretty good control over this knife. And guess what? When it's closed, you're not going to have to worry about where your fingers are in relation to the handle and the blade. I think a much better deal. It kind of beats categorically the paraframe knife. Let's go into gentleman carry knives. So this is from CRKT. And this is known as the Crossbones. Now if you got this knife, then it's actually not a bad knife. So I have just some critiques about it. It's more nitpicky than anything. And here's what I like about this knife. I think it looks really cool. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and I like that it's got this added traction, this diamond texture right here, and the blade shape is cool looking anyways, and you got jimping right here. However, another thing I like about this knife is how easy it is to disengage the lockup on it, the liner lock, and that's one of my big critiques, that more companies don't do that. So CRKT got it right whenever they designed this. Here's what I don't like about this knife. I don't like the blade shape and the blade length, because that combination, along with where you have to put your thumb on it, granted you can kind of put it up here too, but you lose the inherent design of this knife is just not very comfortable, and that's because they sacrificed the ergonomics or the look or the creativity of the design with the practicality of using a knife blade. But it's a gentleman carry knife, so what more can you expect? Well, let me show you guys from Klecker, and this takes a little bit of wrist flick to open. This is known as the Cordovan. This is the smaller version, so this is the Cordovan Light. So there's actually a slightly larger version of this as well. But this knife, it has honestly everything that what the Crossbones has, where it looks kind of cool. It's aesthetically pleasing, but it's also designed really, really well, and it's ergonomic. And not only that, but this backlock is really cool. The way that you disengage this lockup, and pocket clip, I think it makes more sense than that one right there. But anyways, I think this knife is just hands down better in every category than the Crossbones. The Crossbones, I think, can range anywhere between $50 to $90, and this one is around $70. Moving along, kind of switching back to the tactical looking knives. So this is from SOG. This is known as the SOG Zoom, and what I like about this knife is, I guess it looks kind of tactical. I appreciate tactical knives as much as the next guy, and I like that it has a deep carry pocket clip. What I don't like about this knife is that it's not ergonomic. So this right here is just not a comfortable handle. It's also not comfortable at on the spine of the knife, or the back of the knife, and I think it's overly aggressive jimping, but I try not to be too critical on how aggressive jimping is. I think that's just too nitpicky. But I don't really like this right here, which is the safety of this knife, which will keep the knife from opening and deploying in your pocket. It's uncomfortable, and to put it right here where your thumb is, it's very annoying, to say the least. So that is from SOG. Like I said, it's a Zoom. Why not instead get the SOG Flash 2? It has all of the cool things that this one has. It's got the similar pocket clip. Actually, the pocket clip I think is better. And instead of it being uncomfortable, it's actually comfortable in those same places. So it doesn't have jimping, unfortunately, which honestly doesn't matter too much. It just have a little bit of traction right there. But it's actually comfortable, and it's extremely lightweight. And so it is different handle material. So if you're looking for something that's still tactical, and it still has a little bit of a safety right there. See how it's right there instead of annoying me way back here? And yeah, that safety, it does work. So I really like the SOG Flash 2. If those features appeal to you, I think this will appeal to you even more. And like I said, none of these products are terrible. I just think that there are better ones out there and for you to consider. So this one is from SOG. This is the Q3. This is that baton multi-tool that you guys have been seeing kind of floating around the internet and seeing advertisements for. It has spring assisted pliers, and all the tools, I have to be careful I don't pinch myself, but all the tools are kind of back here. So I do like I need to make sure I don't pull that all out at the same time because it has an edge on it. But I do like that in theory you know, you can have your tool here and all of this is handle material, although this moves and it doesn't feel very secure when you're doing it. But yeah, I don't think this is that great. I think it's kind of a gimmicky design, and they seem to pull it off because a lot of people are buying this, but I'm just not a big fan of it myself. If you're looking for something that has a cool design that's a multi-tool, then I would go with the Leatherman Skeletool, because this knife, not only does it look kind of cool, so this is the original version of this. You might see a similarity right here. So this is just a knife blade, hence it being called the KB. So it's a knife blade. So this one is the full-up multi-tool. It has that same knife blade, and it's very easy to open and close, just like a pocket knife. Actually, it's easier to open and close than a pocket knife in some cases. And it has those pliers. And you also have a Phillips head and 2 different sizes Phillips heads and 2 different size flathead screwdriver bits in there. And then, oh, by the way, this is what it will look like if you were to use it to like unscrew or screw in things. Then you just kind of hold it like this. You got a pocket clip right here, or not a pocket clip, but rather a carabiner clip and a bottle opener. And then this side is where you have that pocket clip, so it goes in your pocket just like a pocket knife would. Moving on to a flipper knife, and this might surprise some people, but this is from CRKT. This is known as the home front, but I think this is an overrated knife for a few different reasons. Let me talk about what I like. This knife looks awesome, and it's designed by Ken Onion, who I really like a lot. I've met him in person. He's a good dude. This knife is kind of have like a World War II kind of feel to it, and I like the flipper. It's very smooth, and I like the deep carry pocket clip, and of course, this knife is known for that field strip technology, but you can be able to take this knife apart out in the field, hence it being called field strip technology, and clean and maintain it. So, what do I not like about this knife? Well, the price for one. For the blade steel that you're getting, which is AUS 8 steel, you're paying like around $80, give or take. And also the blade itself, from my experience, the knife edge has a tendency to roll pretty easily. And then this right here, the flipper, and this is kind of nitpicky, but this right here, it over time, whenever you're flipping it, this is going to hurt your finger a little bit. So those are the things I don't like about this knife. If you want a knife that has kind of a more higher end materials, I don't know, G2 steel isn't the best steel, but this is actually less expensive and it has a better feel to it and probably better tolerances. Also, if you just want, I talk about this in some of my other videos, if you just wanted just a different field strip knife, you can get other ones from CRKT, including the HVAS. And there's also more coming out next year. You can pre-order some online if you'd like. But yeah, this is the Brazza flipper knife from Bastion. And it's just a great smooth flipper knife, and it's cheaper than the CRKT home front. So if you just want a good, nice flipper knife, then maybe just go with this instead. Alright, let's move on to another knife that might be controversial. This one is trending right now. So I don't remember the exact name of it. I'll have to annotate it down below. But the things that I like, or I guess I think is cool about the knife, is the design of it. So it definitely has a unique knife shape to it that you don't really see too often in knife blades. And that's kind of where it ends, because this knife is heavy. It's ergonomic enough. It's actually not bad. You can choke up on it. But this knife is just, I don't know why people like this knife as much as they do. It's actually kind of difficult to open, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people like this knife, but you know, I think it's just because it's a new shape. And maybe people are just used to other knife shapes and whatnot. Instead of this knife, I would suggest that you guys go with the CRKT Pilar with 1L. And there's also another version coming out next year, maybe as early as January, that this knife actually has an XL version, which is going to be even more comparable to this one. So if you're looking for kind of a similar blade shape, but actually a little bit more practical, because I don't really like this blade shape. I don't think it doesn't pierce very well at all, and it's heavy to carry, and it's hard to open. So I would rather just have one of these knives, which is better at all of those things. If you want one that's that size, just wait until the next versions come out. And this one actually can pierce as well, so this one not so much. Alright guys, let's move on. This one is also a lot easier to open and close than this one is. So that was the first thing I noticed, was how difficult this was to open. We're basically at the last two, and this is when this video is going to get some people get kind of a little angry. So no, this knife I do not believe is overrated. Some might argue that it is overrated, and they're not necessarily wrong because of how popular this knife is in the knife community. But here's what I like about this knife. So this knife, you can find the compression lock in other Spyderco knives. You can find this blade shape in other Spyderco knives. But what this knife does right, and what I really kind of focusing on with this knife in this video, is the handle. So you can kind of choke up or choke down, but this right here, this little groove, and the fact of how this pocket clip does not cause a hot spot, because it's designed to go, you know, on the other side of your knuckles and your palms. It won't create a hot spot. Even if you choke up on it, it goes right there. It rests very comfortably. This knife it's kind of the perfect pocket knife, and for the price, $120, it's kind of hard to beat. So what happened was Spyderco realized that it can't sell knives that have over 3-inch blade everywhere. So they came out with something that's known as the Para 3, which is this little guy right here, which doesn't have the same benefits that the Paramilitary 2 has. So this doesn't have that same handle, which is okay, you know, because this is, like I said, a smaller version of that, so it makes sense. And for some reason they positioned the pocket clip a little bit differently, so that no matter where you put it, it goes right into the meat of your knuckle. And even if you choke up on it, it goes right into the meat. So and also choking up on it, it just doesn't feel as comfortable as the Paramilitary 2. Why do I think it's overrated? Because I think people don't know what this knife is for. This knife is not to replace or to be an upgrade to the Paramilitary 2. And if people don't have the Paramilitary 2, they don't know that. They'll just think, oh, well, this is the latest version, just like the Delica 4 is the latest version of the Delica, so maybe I should go out and buy that. So people are just kind of programmed, I think, to buy the number, the next number along that list. But honestly, if you just want a smaller knife, just grab the Delica 4. So I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but I still prefer the Paramilitary 2, and this is kind of a hotly debated topic right now. I prefer the Paramilitary 2 side by side with the Para 3, and I've done back and forth tests between the two, and I prefer this a lot more than the Para 3. But that is up to interpretation. That is just my opinions. I don't know if I would recommend this knife unless you really, really, really have to have that compression lock. But anyways, guys, that's my opinion. I'm sure that will be debated either way. But yeah, still like the Paramilitary 2. I still carry it. Love this knife. Moving on to the last knife of the Dirty Dozen. And I figured I'd kind of take a shot at the higher end market, and this is the Strider with SMG or SNG or whatever it's called. I don't really have a lot of higher end knives, as you can probably tell by my budget friendly channel name. The reason why I like this is kind of has a tactical kind of look to it, and I went with the Tanto Point because, you know, why not? And yeah, I think it's very well built. However, but the reason why people buy this knife and spend so much, this is just shy of $500, but the reason people buy this is because of premium materials and because they think it's supposed to be really well made. Well, I don't really think it's all that well made. You know, you may disagree. why not just buy a zero tolerance knife? This knife is really well designed, and it's also kind of tactical, but I think the aesthetics even beat the Strider knife. But those are just my opinions on all of these knives. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What knives do you think should have gone on this list about being overrated knives? And let me know any feedback in your experience of the knives that I talked about in this video. Y'all stay safe out there, and as always, it pays to be prepared. God bless.